3-day weekend over. Chris has to make the transition back to work. So what did we talk about while Chris was in his hammock with legs that were tan and face that was not? Okay. One of the things that popped up last week, Jerry Jones infatuated reportedly with Kyle Pitts. My theory is that we know about that because there are members of the Cowboys organization that don't want Kyle Pitts, so they're trying to make sure he's gone before the Cowboys would take him instead of a defensive player where they have a much greater area of need, Chris. I know Kyle Pitts is a hell of a prospect, but when you've got Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and you've got all the money paid to Dak Prescott, the idea of taking Pitts if he falls to you at 10, which he likely won't, or trading up, giving up assets to go get Kyle Pitts, that seems like a reach, but it definitely seems like something that Jerry Jones would be capable of doing.
Yeah, I mean,
or at least wanting to do.
Well, I mean, the Dallas is one of those teams, of course, that's always, sitting there and a little bit like the Raiders, bigger, faster, stronger. They're all about that, that guy. Kyle Pitts is special. There's no doubt about that. But to me, doesn't make sense. Does not make sense for their football team to do that. Their offense is in a good spot. They are. And they're not totally void at the tight end position. No, I know they don't have Kyle Pitts, but Dalton Schultz is a good football player. That to me, the biggest need with their football team, like you said, it's defense, defense, defense. It's across the board. They got issues there. And if they're obsessed with high-end talent and things like that, to me, what I look there with Dallas, right? And you go, okay, pass rusher, they could do that. Would they do that? I don't know. The other one I look at, corner, that certainly seems like it could be something there. Would they take a chance on the Caleb Farley with the back surgery type thing? He's that type of talent. Would they do it? Or are they going to go Patrick Surtain and go the safer route, the guy who's, Alabama schooled and all that? They got options, but I don't think they need to go to the offensive side of the ball. That's for sure.
Oh, and how's Jerry going to feel about players who opted out? It's a theme that definitely is going to affect some owners and how they view players, not just from the standpoint of do you love football, but just are you pushing back against the status quo? Can you be trusted to come in and be that robot that so many teams are looking for? And again, I don't think that's the way it should be, but we have to acknowledge the reality that some teams may look at it that way. It seems like every 7 or 8 years, Jerry has one of these. It's almost like some sort of a locust, right? It was Darren McFadden in 2008. Remember how smitten he was with getting Derek McFadden? So smitten with McFadden that he drafted Felix Jones from Arkansas when he finally had a chance to get on the board in round one that year. It was the first guy from Arkansas Jones had ever drafted in 20 years of owning the team. And then it was Johnny Manziel in 2014, and they basically had to take the keys to the car away from Papa and not let him go get Johnny Manziel. And that was smart. That was smart then, right? So this one seems like a much better prospect than Johnny Manziel. The question is, can you justify that when your defense has so many areas of need and your defense has been so abysmal, especially last year, Chris?
Yeah, that to me, I don't think you can justify it. I don't. I just think there's too many great needs there, and you got a quarterback who's pretty damn good and special, coming back with, like you already mentioned, those receivers, 2 good running backs, an offensive line that's real good. That to me just does not make sense. Now, I mean, there's a scenario. You could sit there and look at it and go, the Bengals, if they don't take a Kyle Pitts, right? After that, you start to look at it and go, he could be on the board there at number 10, Pitts for the Cowboys. And what are they going to do then? That's going to be the big question. I don't know. They've certainly been gutsy in the draft before. I mean, you mentioned a few things. We could talk about Jalen Smith at the top of the second. That was a really risky decision by them with that knee injury he had. Randy Gregory, they've stood, strong with him. He had issues coming out in the draft that everybody knew about, so they're not afraid to take that risky pick. Certainly not. But I think their defense was such crap. They need help on that side of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, their offense is in really, really good shape. And hey, maybe they would dangle an Amari Cooper to move up a few spots, but nobody's taking Amari Cooper and paying him $20 million, especially not with the cap down. So
if you look, I was going to say this, Mike. If you look at the Bengals and they went Penny Sewell, right? And then you got the Dolphins who go Jamar Chase. And let's just say the Lions do go quarterback. I don't think they will, but we know that's a possibility. They go Justin Fields. And then, maybe the Carolina Panthers and the Broncos go back to offensive line or some other need they have of their football team. The Cowboys could easily be sitting there at 10 with Pitts sitting there in their lap. And then what do they do there? Will Jerry Jones take the cheese? I hope not, for his sake, that he wouldn't, just for the betterment of this football team.
Yeah, it's two sides of the ball, and the defense was just abysmal last year, and I know they think it's going to instantly be better with Dan Quinn, but this is the same group that brought us Mike Nolan last year and sold him as the answer, and we saw how badly that failed.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.